In this video, I'm going to cover the FPGA Workbench configurator tool and how we choose what modules are required to be delivered with FPGA Workbench to meet the customer's requirement. As you know, the FPGA card has three FPGAs, the A5, the B3, and the B7. A5 is fixed for the multifunction I/O board, whereas the B3 and B7 are for the programmable boards. In case of programmable boards, there are still two different categories: customer programmable board and fixed functionality boards. For fixed customer programmable boards are boards which the customer intends to program the board, and for that they would require the FPGA license to program the board. Along with that, they will need the Intel Quartus tools to compile the firmware. If the customer desires, then they would need FPGA Workbench user module so they can add their own custom HDL code. The customer may choose as an option to purchase FPGA Workbench IP cores like PWM in or PWM out. For fixed functionality board, concurrent real-time will program the board with a fixed firmware. So if the customer knows exactly what firmware they have and we have the IP cores for that, then there is no NRE involved in deploying and testing the firmware. The FPGA Workbench team will do it. However, an RAK is required if the custom IP modules or known standard pinout configurations are desired. Customer does not require FPGA Workbench license to program the board or the Intel Quartus tools to compile the firmware, because the FPGA Workbench team is going to do this for them. So let's go to the configurator and see how do we choose different modules and price it out accordingly. So if you go to ePortal, you will see a link called FPGA Workbench Configurator. Okay, so it will bring you to this web page where you can choose the different types. So again, programmable is B3 or B7. In this case, I'm going to choose fixed functionality, and the configurator tool is going to add a bunch of different prerequisites to this. So in this case, it has the B3 board. I'm going to come down and see that, okay, I do not need to add my Intel Quartus compiler to it. I don't see the Intel Quartus compiler to it. I go to automotive and I choose one crank and 4 cam channels. So when I click on that, so it will give me one crank and 4 cam digital channels. I want some ignition injection. In this case, I'm going to add 8 ignition injections, which can be shared between ignition injections. And then I'm going to come into miscellaneous and add some PWM input channels and PWM output channels. So on this right side, you can see the FPGA resource utilization based on the B3 board. Ideally, if it is fixed firmware, then we request customers to fill in this Excel sheet, which tells you which IP cores go to which digital and which analog pins on the board. And typically you'll put the analyst name and the date in here. And when you click send email, this doesn't send an email right now, but it will give you all the modules that you need to put in the pricing mechanism to figure out what the price for this configuration is. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, just let me know or send an email to the FPGA Workbench team. Thanks.